Hi again guys, and welcome to another rally build, one which of course we haven't covered in a while in GT Sport, and this time I wanted to do a similar thing to a tune which, if I recall correctly, I did way back in GT6 for the same car, a WRC-esque tune setup for the Subaru BRZ. Now of course it would be ideal if you could have all-wheel drive, but that's not an option. Thankfully though, the rear-wheel drive rally cars in this game actually still handle pretty well, or at least I should say cars with rear-wheel drive used for rallying, because of course there aren't any rear-wheel drive rally cars officially. Now as far as the tuning goes, for power and weight, I've opted to make it essentially on par with around the 2008 era WRC cars that we had in GT6, like the Focus and the Impreza. So 315 horsepower, 1230 kilos. Traction control we've got turned off, and of course you want to do this under the dirt tab under tuning, because otherwise if you do it under the road tab and then switch to dirt, it'll just reset everything. So make sure you do that first. As far as tyres, we've got dirt tyres, obviously, hopefully snow tyres eventually, wink wink, polyphony. As far as the suspension, we've got the ride height on 150mm, which is basically what they set it at originally, and that's good enough. For the frequency, 1.5, anti-roll I've got on 7 and 5. For the compression side of the dampers, we've got 64, then 90 on the rebound. I've gone for 1 degree of camber, primarily because it is rear-wheel drive. Neutral toe, of course you don't have any downforce to work with. As far as the diff, I've opted to leave both the acceleration and braking settings basically on what they already are when you fit the fully customized diff, but then I've changed the initial torque to halfway. Then finally for the gearbox, of course it's a rally build, so you don't really need top end speed, so you want the fully customized transmission. I've gone for an auto setting of 162 miles per hour. Then for the individual gears, 2.4, 1750, 1.4, 1175, 1, 860, and a final drive of 4.1. I find that works pretty well. Of course, if you give it more power or less power, you'll have to adjust the transmission, but if you keep it at this level of power and weight, it'll be good enough for you. Now, as far as what this car can actually do, well, of course, for that, we need to take it out to a dirt track and take a look. Now, the only downside, potentially, of a car like this is, as I mentioned earlier, the fact that you don't have power and torque going to the front wheels as well, because that makes such a huge difference. With that being said, though, even though it is rear-wheel drive and it's only working in N300, this is only 2 seconds slower than my rally build for the Porsche 911 GT3, and that's an N400 car. So in comparison, that's pretty impressive given that this doesn't have any advantages, literally no advantages over the Porsche. It's not more nimble, it's not more compact in terms of width, for instance. A Porsche is very compact for width, especially for an exotic. The weight, I believe the Porsche is lower, the power is obviously higher, so this car has every disadvantage, and yet to only be 2 seconds slower, that's not bad. Now of course you wouldn't put it up against something like that anyway, but it just goes to show the kind of performance that this one can give you. Now, this is not the quickest of N300 rally builds that I've done. That one still goes to the Lancia Delta, which of course has all-wheel drive, making a huge difference, but for what the car is, it works very well, it's very quick, it's very fun, and of course with these rally builds, it tends to be first and foremost about the fun factor, and then maybe using it for racing as a secondary thing. So overall, if you do decide to use it, I hope that you do have just that, plenty of fun, and potentially win some events. You never know, you might end up doing that as well. But that's it for this build. Of course, you can click here on screen to see all of my other tunes, not just for rally, but for everything: drift, drag, circuit, all kinds of stuff. And for now, as always, thanks for watching.